Our racetrack, and it's unlike any that exists. More cathedral than racecourse. It all started long before any of us can remember. The idea of a man who loved horses and horse racing. A fairly simple idea. Bring together the best horses in the world and see who wins. And for almost a century and a half, that's exactly what has happened. A contest that's been around longer than any other. There's a feeling here you get nowhere else. A presence. Walk the hallowed grounds on a quiet summer morning, and you'll swear you can hear the ancient race calls echoing through the 100-year-old rafters.
Coming through the stretch now, that's Jiper and Rydan still battling for the lead.
Stand at the rail as ghostly images whirl away, Man o' War, Native Dancer, and Alydar race through your imagination. But that's just a small part of what makes Travers Day unlike any other day in any place on earth. And why, if you love racing, love people, and love history, you'll feel the need to be here, if only for that one special day. So join us at Saratoga for the 148th running of the Travers.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. Pannell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. And the new Capital OTB mobile app. Wager anytime, any place, anywhere. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Friday morning. I'm Seth Merrill. Thanks for joining us. Big show today. Coming up in just a few minutes, Charlton Baker will join us, a trainer here on the New York circuit, having another nice Saratoga meet. We'll get some of his background thoughts on some of his performers as well. A little bit after that, Pat McKenna, Director of Communications for the New York Racing Association. Big week coming up, obviously, with the Alabama tomorrow. Next Saturday, the Travers. Last Saturday was the halfway point. They had some great numbers, attendance, and handle. We'll get a little bit of all of that from Pat coming up towards the bottom of the hour, and then Norm Casse will join us a little bit later on. They've got some horses in both the Lake Placid and the Alabama tomorrow. Out in Southern California, Del Mar Handicap, Del Mar Oaks. They won with world approval. Grade 1 4-star Dave last weekend. We'll hit on all of that with Norm. That's all coming up in just a few. Do want to remind you, obviously great racing up here tomorrow with the Lake Placid and the Alabama. Good racing all weekend. The cooler bag giveaway comes up on Monday up here. Low roller Saturday and Sunday. So keep all of that in mind over the next few days. And also keep in mind out in Southern California, Pacific Classic Day tomorrow. Put that on your betting menu. Nice stakes card out at Del Mar. And also, I mentioned it earlier, and if I can pull it up again, yeah, there's a coast-to-coast pick 4, which should be a lot of fun. All stakes, Saratoga and Del Mar tying in. The Lake Placid, the Alabama up here at Saratoga. It'll tie in with the Pacific Classic and the Del Mar Oaks out in Southern California. Should be a lot of fun, obviously, with all the great stakes action here and in Southern California. The two big summertime tracks that attract a lot of attention and big crowds. And if we can bet into both of them, I think it'll add some excitement to a Saturday afternoon. So keep that in mind as well. A lot of good action. All right, we'll take one quick break. When we come back, Charlton Baker is on the set and will join us. Stay tuned.
Whether you're winding down from a day at the track or gearing up for the night, celebrate summer with live music, fabulous food, and the best happy hour in Saratoga. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
Nighttime thoroughbred racing is back at Capital OTB. Now through Labor Day, Capital OTB will be accepting wagers on nighttime thoroughbred racing from across the country, featuring evening racing from Del Mar and Woodbine, and now it's even easier to be part of the action. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com on all your digital devices, or use our newly designed mobile app. So even when the sun goes down, thoroughbred racing continues at capitalotbbet.com. Log on today.
A huge race on the outside, but it's Ferdinand and Alashiba nose and nose to the wire. Good chase coming on the outside. Alashiba going to get there at the rail with Ferdinand. Alashiba has won it by a nose.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. CapitalOTB.com offers live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, and a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform. And best of all, you get track prices. Going on now, it's Bet 50, Get 50. Simply open a Capital Bets account, bet $50, and get $50 cash back. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Relax with a signature cocktail or one of our world-class wine selections while enjoying indoor or outdoor dining for lunch and dinner. The Diamond Club at the Embassy Suites, winner of the 2016 and 2017 Wine Spectator Award of Excellence.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Very happy to be joined now by Charlton Baker, trainer I've wanted to get on the set for a while now. Had a good Saratoga season last year, in the midst of another good one this year. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning. Good morning, Seth.
Happy to have you join us, as I say. Folks certainly familiar with your name on the New York circuit, and I want to get trainers back here for the first time. I'd like to take a chance to introduce people to the names and faces they've seen. So talk a little bit about how you first got into the game. I know kind of a training family.
Yeah, my dad was a trainer, so back in Jamaica. So I was in the game as a kid. I grew up in it pretty much. So his dad was a jockey, so it's been a 3-generation stuff coming along here.
A jockey down in Jamaica?
Jockey down in Jamaica, yeah.
And how did your father do during his training career?
He was a good trainer. He had a small string, not a large string, but he did great. He did great for what he had. Yeah.
And reading about your background, you didn't immediately come here and get into the training game.
No.
How did you morph into coming over here and working maybe a real job and then moving into the racetrack?
Yeah, when I came with my mom. She was living in Brooklyn at the time. So I got a factory job, got a factory job for a couple of years. And then my dad, he was in Belmont. He was with Jerkins at the time.
Okay.
Alan Jerkins at the time. And he went to Finger Lakes. And he asked if you want to come up to Finger Lakes. I went to visit, and I liked it. Once I got to the track, it's like the vibes came back for just being around the horses. So I moved down there, and then I started working for Mark Ferraro Sr., and then went from there.
So did you have any experience yourself with Alan Jerkins?
No, I didn't work for Jerkins, but my dad did for a year.
Were you just around the barn, though, and get any of the...
Actually, I wasn't. I was actually working in the factory then. I was
that's right, yeah. If you got the 9 to 5, you can't get there. You can't get there. Talk a little bit about moving out to Finger Lakes and how you got your start out there, and how long were you out there before you then branched out to the NYRA tracks?
Okay, I was there. I started training in '97. I think I started moving to NYRA about 2002, 2003. Start just feeling it out, come in the wintertime for a few months, and slowly work myself into there. But I started training in '97 with a small string. I started with like 3 horses, kind of built to 5, 7 by the end of the year, and grew pretty fast after that because we started doing good right off the bat. So we got going right off the bat.
And now strings at the NYRA circuit, wherever that may be racing, Saratoga, Aqueduct, Belmont, as well as out at Finger Lakes.
Yeah, I got a small steer on Finger Lakes right now.
And I want to go back to a horse folks may remember, Top Shotter. Talk a little bit about Top Shotter, because that and another horse, didn't you win the General Barker for like 5 years in a row?
That was
kind of the Woody Stevens of Finger Lakes.
That was Top Shutter winning 3, and then I got a Johnny by Night who came along right after Top Shutter and won it a few years also.
And Top Shutter you also owned.
Yeah, it was my first real good horse. That's like was in 2001, 2002. Bought him as a yearling. He started running. He won his first year at Saratoga. That was my first win in Saratoga, actually. And he came back, won his second race the same year, and came back the previous year. He actually liked Saratoga. He won about 4 races here during his career.
As I say, a name I throw out, and I'm sure folks will remember him because of what he did up here at Saratoga.
Yeah, nice horse.
You remember your first winner?
Not really. I don't remember the first win. I know it was a horse. Peel Me a Grape was my first winner.
Peel Me a Grape?
Peel Me a Grape, yeah. That was before I actually started training. It was a horse I bought first horse I owned, bought for $1,000 on the cuff while I was still working as a groom at the time. Bought him for $1,000, and he turned out to be the horse that actually started my career, because from him went on to claim 1, then got my license and moved on to be a trainer. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the winner you had just the other day. Going back to Friday, I want to show the stretch run. The Funny Thing will win for Charlton Baker. First time in your barn, though. And The Funny Thing, again, is going to be the number 2 horse in here, getting it done this past Friday. As I say, first time in your barn. Fill us in a little bit, when a horse moves into your barn for the first time, what's the process to kind of evaluate the horse and decide where to go next?
Yeah, well, Funny Thing was a horse that I kind of had a background on, because he was in Finger Lakes, came from Mike Farrell barn. We're stable together. I knew his running style, I knew his reputation. When he got to the barn, Mike ran him, and he left him after he ran that day. He got the experience over the track, which I thought he needed, because the track change was a little deeper than Finger Lakes. So I thought he needed the experience over back. But one thing I noticed about him was that he was just a little want to go with a high horse. So the main thing I was trying to do was to get him calmed down. So we used the pony with him, trying to get him to relax a little bit more, and he let him stand out there, train, stand, and just get him a little more relaxed. And that was the main part of it, trying to get him to relax.
That's funny. Fill us in a little bit on that, because we as fans and handicappers, I think, don't realize that aspect of the game. You see the workouts and you think it's all physicality, but a lot of it is the mental side of the game.
Definitely mentally, because he was a horse that want to go. He wants to go every time, and for him to perform as a big, I thought in a way he had to be able to rate a little and come off the pace where he could actually use himself a little bit, because if you got all the speed in there, he's going to run, and the fast horse is going to actually, they're going to succumb to the space.
And so the training methods you've accumulated over the years gives you experience to know how to deal with those kind of situations.
Yeah, definitely. It's just experience, definitely.
I wanted to touch on another horse, and again, a horse you owned and claimed. I want to go back to Joking, and I want to go back to this one because put a grade 1 on your resume. This was last October, the Vosburg. Joking is going to be the number 3 horse in here. Manny Franco on board. You claimed Joking back in 2014 for $20,000. Throughout the career, he won over $800,000, but a $20,000 claim, and you wind up with a grade 1. This had to be one of the highlights of the career.
Definitely highlights of the career. No doubt about that.
And talk about what it was like, because I can remember watching the simulcast signal and then seeing you interviewed in the winner's circle afterwards. And clearly you were elated, but it seems like the track people root for a guy who puts in the time, and it seemed like everybody was kind of happy that you had the grade 1 on the resume.
Definitely. It was a exciting time for me, very exciting, because I've always wanted to win a grade 1. It's like you got this. I think everyone in the career want to get to the top of the pinnacle, which is not really a grade 1, but Kentucky Derby or the Breeders' Cup or wherever you think. But grade 1 was definitely something I wanted to put on my career.
And as I say, you claimed Joking for $20,000, and reading an article, you said you're not afraid to kind of open up your own wallet. You will look at horses, and and say to maybe some of your owners, are you interested? And if they pass, you may jump in yourself. And that was one of those situations.
Yeah, definitely. I started that way. I started most of my horses in my career. I owned most of them starting out. I owned the first 3 horses I trained, and even when I was up to 17 horses, I owned maybe 60 to 70% of them. So I was never scared. I figured I was going to make it either by doing it myself or get owners to come in and join me, but I wasn't scared to get in and spend.
How much time do you spend looking for horses to claim? What's the process there? Are you kind of looking at replays every day, or just sitting in the grandstand watching races and kind of finding horses?
I get a racing form every day, every day, go through it. I'm always looking. I'm not handicapping the race to find a winner. I'm handicapping the race to find a horse. Find a horse that. So I'm always looking through the farm. We're not big claiming stable by no means. I got a lot of guys that breed. They breed New York bred horses. They're farm owners. So I get most of my horses from the farm. But I'm always looking to claim. For myself, I got a few cans at looking some, but I'm always looking. So I'm looking for the right horse at all times. That I think would fit in my program, or that I'm comfortable with. So that's pretty much a daily basis, day in, day out.
Do you feel you have a sweet spot, like a dirt sprint as compared to marathons on the turf? Do you feel there's some horses you're, as I say, in your sweet spot training wise?
I think definitely on the dirt. I'm more comfortable on the dirt. That's because I've never really had the experience on the turf. Background wise, Jamaica had no turf track. Came to Finger Lakes, there was a turf track. So now I'm trying to get into turf because I really do need to have turf horses. So I'm actually looking into that area and trying to get my knowledge up on the turf training. I think it's a little bit different. I see Chad is superior on the turf, and I just think it's a great ability to have to do both. Definitely.
Something tells me you'll work it out. You'll be okay. As I say, picking up a horse like joking for $20,000. I think you have the acumen to work out whatever is in front of you. A horse like that you get for $20,000. It's in your barn. You mentioned your other owners. They breed horses themselves. I always like to give trainers a little shot to give a shout out to your staff and your owners, because I know they're all part of the team.
Well, Francis Pollinger been with me from day one. He's been my rock, really. Francis, definitely. And definitely, all my owners have been great. I mean, Mr. Freed, Alfred has been super. Has been with me, and he's very, very loyal. And all the owners that supported me right through my career. I can't name them all, but there's a lot. But all my owners, but those guys were big part of it.
And obviously you have a staff you can rely on, because again, you have a string on the New York circuit. And I'm assuming maybe some horses still down at Belmont as well, and then out at Finger Lakes?
Yep, I do. My brother operates Finger Lakes. Ron, my brother Ron Baker, he operates Finger Lakes, and he does a great job there. And I got guys in New York still, Prince and Brody, which are their name, given name, not their given name, but that's what we call them. But we got a great crew. Guys that you can rely on, that are there day in, day out, and just grind out just like I do, really.
How often do you get out to Finger Lakes?
I get there. I try to get there once a week or twice every 2 weeks.
Even when you're downstate?
Yeah, when I'm downstate, I try to move. Because I got my house there, the kids are there, so I try to...
Oh, that's where your home is?
That's where my home is, yeah.
Okay. How many kids you have?
I got 3 kids.
And are they heading into the racing game?
Not as yet. My son he's interested. He always want to come to the barn. He always want to pet the horses, but he's only 7, so it's like that's his fun part. I don't know where he's gonna actually go with it. But my daughters, they just want to come through once in a while, go to races once in a while. They're not into it like that.
They come to Saratoga?
They're in Jamaica right now. I'm gonna pick them up. They're flying to New York, JFK tomorrow. I'll pick them up there, and then we stop over here, and then go back down upstate.
And then maybe a little trip up to Great Escape for the kids?
Maybe we might do that. I'm not sure if we have that fit in the schedule, but we're trying to do that.
I always think the kids go to the racetrack. They're maybe more 7 years old. Maybe.
Yeah, they get bored really fast.
Just want to also, you and I were talking before we came on the air. You have the really nice horse Gold for the King that folks may be familiar with. Won the New York Breeders' Futurity out of Finger Lakes last year. The rich New York Breeders' Futurity. Nice little 3-year-old, and you said he's just getting kind of a little bit of a break, and we'll look for him in the fall.
Yeah, I gave him a little break. He ran in the New York Derby, going 2 turns, first time 2 turns. Didn't really handle it that great. So I decided to freshen him up a little, get him ready for the fall, maybe the New York Showcase Day or somewhere down there. So that's the plan on it.
And as I said, you're having a great meet. You are currently headed here, sitting 19 starters, 5 wins, a second, 4 thirds. Last year you had 29 starters with 10 wins, so you're halfway. We're just past the halfway point. You're halfway to your total last year. You have to be sitting feeling pretty good about where you are this year, even as compared to last year, which was a great season for you.
Yeah, definitely. When we can win one race in Saratoga, it's very tough to win here. That's a statement that everyone makes, but it's actually a competitive horseman here, competitive racing, so it's very tough. So when you can win a couple, even 5, you're doing great.
You are putting together, as I say, another good season. And the funny thing we saw the other day, will he come back before the end of the meet? The funny thing,
definitely. He'll come back in the tour then.
And do you believe in that horse for a course angle? Some horses just like a particular racetrack.
Definitely. I got horses. Even the filly, I got a filly, Balls of Dreams here. She won 2 races last year. Came back, final form right away as she got here. So they definitely, horses some horses just love the place, surrounding environment, and then horses love the track. So it's definitely a horse, of course.
All right, Charlie Baker. As I said, I wanted to have him on here. Easy to root for guys who are out there doing things like picking up a claimer like Joking and then winning a Grade 1. Always a fun story there. Appreciate your stopping by this morning. I know you're busy.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you.
Charlton Baker, trainer. We'll take a break. When we come back, Pat McKenna from the New York Racing Association. They have had a great start to the meet, and now we get into the high water marks. The Alabama and the Travers coming up over the next 8 days. We'll hit on all of that right after this. Stay tuned.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB television network.
What if there was a way to become a better horse player, to have a better knowledge of the game, to be more successful? What if there were a way to take what you've learned, what you know, and make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots? In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
I'm Steve Beck.
And I'm Seth Merrow.
Together, we're loose on the lead on Capital OTB, Sundays at 10 a.m. Why should they watch, Seth?
Sit down on Sunday, have a bagel, get some great racing conversation.
Cream cheese only, no jelly. Sundays, 10 a.m., loose on the lead, Capital OTB.
In a recent study of some of the top online wagering sites, Capital OTB won big in total player rewards, far surpassing some of the best-known wagering sites in America. While other rewards programs simply offer you points redeemable for gift cards, Capital OTB's rebates are paid to you in actual cash. Plus, Capital OTB gives you full and immediate access to your money. So if all you're getting now are points and gift cards, join Capital OTB Player Rewards today and get cash back. Visit CapitalOTBBet.com and sign up today.
With more than 60 Easy Bet and branch locations throughout the region, you're just a short drive from all the top tracks across the country and around the world. For a complete list of all Easy Bet and branch locations, visit CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB. We're closer than you think.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Friday morning. We are happy to be joined now by Director of Communications for the New York Racing Association, Pat McKenna. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you back here to talk a little bit about, as I said at the top of the show, we crossed the halfway point last Saturday. You guys put out some great numbers, but we also have kind of the high water marks of the meet with the Grade 1 Alabama for the 3-year-old girls. Tomorrow, a week away, the Grade 1 Travers for the boys. So great things in the rearview mirror, but a lot of good things still to come, and we want to hit on all of those. So I'm happy to have you over here. Just before we get on to handle numbers and whatnot, just give us a little overview on your feeling of how the first, we're 24 days in now, I think, 25 maybe?
Today is day 24?
Today may be 25. Last Saturday was 20, so Sunday 21, Monday 22, 23, we're 25 today.
Okay. I think we've had a...
None of us know. I had to count on my fingers.
Yeah, these days kind of blend into one another. I think we've had a fantastic start. I mean, as evidenced by the fact that, we remain more than 10% up in terms of all sources handle over the 2016 numbers. Attendance is encouraging, not nearly as important to us as those handle figures in terms of our ability to remain as a economic driver for the upstate economy. But again, to see those massive crowds, to see 30,000 people on a Monday or a Thursday or a Friday, always encouraging. Speaks to the health of the game, certainly up here across the tri-state area. Throughout New England, and then obviously across the country. You're constantly running into people who are coming from distance to be here at Saratoga for a day, for a weekend, for a week. It's always exciting. And then to roll out some of the new products that we've rolled out, whether it's the sort of expanded and reintroduced NYRA XP, obviously NYRA Bets remains a focal point, now available in 29 states, including those big markets in California, Kentucky, Virginia. But these are all, I think, all signs are pointing to a strong meet. Obviously, everything here is kind of dependent on weather, as you see today. But we've had some lucky breaks on some of these big Saturdays where it looked like you might show up, and who knows what was going to happen. But we've gotten through it. Again, handle strong, attendance equally strong. The place looks great. There's a great feeling in there's a great vibe each and every day you're here. So we're pleased.
And last Saturday, again, was the halfway point. At the end of the day, you put out handle and attendance numbers comparing the first half of the meet this year to last year, both handle and attendance up, and kind of on line to the million plus that wound up the meet last year. It seems like the first start of the meet with the numbers up leads into potentially a good second half of the meet. Again, keeping our eyes on the weather.
Right. Of course, like anything else, whether it's in, getting off to a hot start is always important, right? Last year, remember, was the very first time in Saratoga history we eclipsed that 1.1 million fan mark. So the fact that we're essentially even a little bit up on those numbers is encouraging. And then the fact that, the wagering numbers reflect big competitive fields, really interesting betting opportunities. The addition of NYRA Bets here certainly is a positive. And again, we're putting all that, we're putting that money back into the game. We're investing here in the backstretch. We're building new dorms. We're building new facilities. We're improving the quality of the racetracks, the training facilities. So, encourage your viewers to work through, bet through NYRA Bets and come out to the track.
We'll touch on another handle number that you mentioned when you sat down with me today, because you talked about yesterday. I found this kind of intriguing. Yesterday, only 9 races on the card as compared to 10 last year, but the handle was up yesterday.
Yeah, we were up
one less race.
A really small amount. I think it was all sources was like, maybe $300-400. But the fact that we were a whole race. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Yeah. And I saw that late in the day yesterday and thought, wow, that's, again, encouraging. People are loving the product up here. And we, obviously hope that continues through the big days like tomorrow and then through the rest of the meet.
And part of that may be what I think is kind of innovative, the Fox MSG program, which kicked off pretty much last year with a great team, Tony Oliveto, and the team in front of the camera, Dan Silver, I know, and Eric Donovan, part of the team, but you in front of the camera, Andy, obviously, and Maggie, and all the entire rest of the team who do a great job. But I think because they're on these kind of all sports networks for a few hours every day with horse racing, it just kind of evangelizes for the sport and has the potential to bring new people in, because it's not only MSG, it's Fox Sports and it's those other cable systems which really bring it across the country, potentially hitting millions of people. Right. And maybe you can point to a handle number like yesterday and think that it can't hurt, certainly.
It absolutely can't hurt. I mean, the fact that, we're showing, basically with daily coverage, the Saratoga meet across the country, into Southern California, into Ohio, into Colorado, into the Mountain West. I mean, again, to be able to watch on Saratoga Live, wager through NYRA Bets. We saw a really interesting story on the front cover of the sports section today by Pete Doherty on on the show, on the challenges and opportunities of live television, as you know. The guys do a fantastic job. Certainly Tony, all the talent, and then obviously the unsung heroes behind every sort of live TV production, those guys behind the camera. So I think that the show is a tremendous product. I think that the people who watch it each and every day, you're talking about a pretty loyal base of viewership. So that's great.
Yeah, I've been behind the camera with the television production company, now in front of the camera. I know what goes into it, and you watch the couple hours every day, and I just admire the work and the with the time between races, some nice feature stories they put in there, which I think again help to draw people in.
And then locally, we're also we do have these bumper shots that show off some of what makes Saratoga so special outside the track, whether it's SPAC, Yaddo, any number of different opportunities for folks who are watching the show who may not be here, but who may be planning a visit or thinking about coming to see some of those other elements. Again, that just speaks to the fact that that we're a focal point of this upstate economy and the tri-state region. So,
and you've kind of alluded to it now. One of the questions I wanted to ask, and I had Linda Rock in here, I had Chris Kay in here, and I asked them, Chris Kay overall, Linda Rock on her department. I'll ask your department because I know the communications department up in the press box, I see a lot of those folks, and you have kind of an expanded staff, but obviously Saratoga, a lot of work goes into it, but I'm wondering on the reward, because you're in New York, the rest of the year it's the media capital of the world, so it's rewarding down there too. But up here in Saratoga, it's such a focal point for everybody up here. It's our major leagues, and locally, you have Channel 10. I go on with them on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays for their evening sportscast, so I know they're up here, but they have the set where they broadcast live. Time Warner Spectrum now is live every day as well, so the media just has a real focus locally on Saratoga. So for you and your staff, it's just got to be rewarding when you know at the end of the meet, okay, we kind of hit it out of the park a little bit, we had a great meet, it got the word out successfully.
It does feel like you're moving the needle in at least some small way when you're working closely with with our media partners, whether it's Channel 10, Spectrum, all the guys and gals in the press box that are doing such hard work each and every day, and then certainly you just mentioned the communication staff at NYRA, and I'd obviously be remiss if I didn't tout the work that they do every day. I'm sure you see the notes packages that come out, 1, 2 o'clock each and every day. I'd encourage your viewers to go on to NYRA.com and give those a read, because it really gives some additional color, context into what's happening in the backstretch, morning works, trainer ideas about what they're thinking. I think it's a pretty tremendous snapshot into what's happening on the backside every day.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it is worth mentioning. You guys have a great news section on your website. You guys have a great website to begin with. It's one of the track websites that I really recommend other tracks maybe model after, but a great news function to that, which has the notes, has states recaps, tells you what's coming up, and that's a great addition to kind of the media scene, particularly for people who are watching now or maybe in town from out of town. If you want to follow the game when you go back home, it's a great way to do it. But tie that into a little bit social media and how that's playing now into what you do.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that you talk to that works in the field that I do, or whether it's journalism, communications on the other side of the aisle, it's just a different way to speak directly to the folks that are here, and it's also a really useful communication tool in real time, right?
Yeah.
We had a delay a couple weeks ago to be able to reach out to folks and say, because folks, people are now checking the Twitter feed for breaking news. They're checking their social media pages, whatever those venues are. So it's a critical element to what we do from both a marketing aspect and then a direct kind of communications vehicle.
Okay, now, as I say, tomorrow it's Grade 1 Alabama. 8 days from now, the Grade 1 Travers, so things really ramp up. Your job kind of becomes more, I was going to say difficult, that's not the right word, just more, there's more time involved, I'm sure, because we're heading into the big period now where a lot of news will be generated. People want to know who's going to go into these races, what the workouts are, and you guys are going to do a great job with that, but fill us in on what we can expect over this next 8 days.
Sure. I mean, Travers Week is always an exciting week up here. We'll have the draw again downtown on Tuesday evening, and then straight into the week just following the horses, the contenders. Hopefully we're seeing the classic winners, all three of them in the race. It's always a possibility. And we'll look forward to the excitement that comes with Travers Week.
There's also the addition, which is great, and this is This is fun, too, because I think the season pass has brought the town in. The season pass has the perks aspect, which you get discounts at places around town. But Travers now has Travers Restaurant Week, which pulls in the downtown and area businesses as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're committed to working with the downtown community, the Downtown Business Association, to make sure that we're all benefiting from the excitement, the crowds, drawing folks in to upstate New York. And additionally, you mentioned discount. Buy your grandstand admission now and save $5. So that goes from $10 to $15 on Travers Day.
Oh, okay.
So those are still available. It's obviously a good discount. So plan ahead. We're always encouraging folks to build in some additional travel time on the biggest days. Whitney Day, Alabama Day, Travers Day. So encourage folks to buy now and save and plan ahead.
Sounds good. Yeah. Pat, appreciate the visit. Appreciate the work you and your team do. As I say, you got a team, and they're always running around the press box, running around the winner's circle, and putting up some notes that everybody can take advantage of. And as I say, this next week, it'll ramp up even more, and we'll appreciate it even more because, again, always fun. Alabama and Travers, the highlights of the meet, which then continues on to the Woodward, which will be another highlight potentially. But it's been a great meet so far. We wish you continued good luck and success, and we'll talk again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Pat McKenna, Director of Communications at the New York Racing Association. We'll take a break. When we come back, Norm Casse is in the house. They have some horses running here this weekend out at Del Mar. We'll hit a little bit on World Approval in the Grade 1 last weekend. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
No matter what you're craving or when you crave it, we've got plenty of options for you. Whether it's a hearty breakfast, light lunch, or relaxing dinner, our full-service restaurant and bar will satisfy your every taste. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
Nighttime Thoroughbred Racing is back at Capital OTB. Now through Labor Day, Capital OTB will be accepting wagers on nighttime thoroughbred racing from across the country, featuring evening racing from Del Mar and Woodbine, and now it's even easier to be part of the action. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com on all your digital devices, or use our newly designed mobile app. So even when the sun goes down, thoroughbred racing continues at capitalotbbet.com. Log on today.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, and amazing Vegas-style atmosphere. The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
No matter where in the world you are, the excitement of wagering on horse racing is just a click away. CapitalOTB.com offers live streaming, past performances, race replays, our virtual tote board, analysis and selections from professional handicappers, and a simple, safe, and secure wagering platform. And best of all, you get track prices. Going on now, it's Bet 50, Get 50. Simply open a Capital Bets account, bet $50, and get $50 cash back. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
With Saratoga's best outdoor patio, a spacious bar, and plenty of off-street parking, it's the perfect place to meet friends and relax after an exciting day at the track. The Diamond Club at Embassy Suites, where the world meets in Saratoga.
This is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Welcome back. As promised before the break, happy to be joined now by Norm Casse. Good morning, Norm.
Morning.
Happy to have you on board. Have you lived your entire life in the shadow of Cheers? When you walk into a room and say, like, Norm!
I think I'm a generation behind that, so it's okay. Every once in a while, I'll get the Norm from Cheers, but not as often as you would think.
That's right. You're right. It is kind of in the rearview mirror for people, except for me. I'm old enough to remember that. Let's get back to horses now a little bit. We had a nice race last weekend. We'll hit on what's coming up, certainly. But I want to go back to the 4-star Dave last week. Nice Grade 1 event up here at Saratoga, mile on the turf. We're going to watch number 7, World Approval, get it done. A little bit of a price, paid $12 and change in here, so a little bit ignored by the betting public. But, boy, this was a nice performance. Nice ride from Manny Franco. And give us your thoughts on World Approval coming out of the 4-star Dave.
Just really excited to get the opportunity to run him a mile. We had toyed with it for a long time. I think we finally figured out exactly what he wants to do. This is a really impressive performance. He was touting us all meet long, though. He had worked really well leading up to the race. And I think probably the most important thing going forward is now we have a lot more options of where to run him, and we're really excited about the possibility of things to come for him.
What are you looking at as potentially being out there now?
Well, obviously now I think, realistically, the way that he was running, the Breeders' Cup wasn't really an option because he wasn't going to go a mile and a half there. But now we can point him towards the Breeders' Cup mile and be very, very confident about it, and then pick out some races leading up to it. But right now he looks really good. He's looked really good the last couple mornings, and hopefully we can point him to the Woodbine Mile, a race that's really important to us, a race that we won last year, and a race that we look forward to having him ready for.
Oh, nice. We're headed up there for the Woodbine Mile ourselves, so we'll look forward to that also. How'd you wind up with Manny Franco?
You know what? It was just one of those situations where a lot of the jocks were out of town. And, I mean, I'll be honest. We saw him play basketball in the little charity event. Thought, wow, what a tremendous athlete this kid is. And it worked out perfect. What a humble guy. And he put on a really great ride that day, so we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, I think my friend Mike McAdam in the Daily Gazette, I think his lead was something like first time a jockey's ever been picked up by his performance on a basketball court.
And it's true. I mean, it's the thing that we joke about, but it had a lot to do with it, to be honest. But like I said, he's just a humble, nice guy, and I'm proud that he got to be a part of that.
Yeah, nice Grade 1 for him up at Saratoga. Before we get on to coming up onto next weekend, you've been on with us before. We've covered this a little bit, but for folks who haven't watched in the past, I always like to introduce trainers, and you see these faces and hear the names, see them in the winner's circle and whatnot, but I like to get a little background. Clearly you're coming from a horse racing family, but how'd you get into the game?
Truthfully, I'm a third generation horseman. Everybody knows that my grandfather was a trainer, and then my dad's obviously a trainer. That's who I work for. But a lot of people don't realize that my mom's father was a trainer as well. He was just kind of a old school River Downs type trainer. So I like to tell everybody that I'm a third generation horseman, but that both my grandparents were trainers as well. So I was really bred top and bottom to do this. But the funny thing about my story is that Dad, my family, nobody pushed me into it. It was just something I fell in love with naturally, growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, falling in love with the Derby, falling in love with Churchill Downs, and I came to it naturally, and I think that's what makes me do well, because I'm not forced to be here. I'm here because I love it. It's what my life's passion is, and I'm just grateful to be in the opportunities that we're in.
Was down at the Andy Serling parting glass a few weeks ago, and Dale was there. And I think it was the same night you were there, but Dale tossed out there on speed dial as your brother. Your brother's a Louisville cop. How'd that happen?
He just, what the funny thing about Joel, so my dad has 7 kids. I'm the only one that's actively involved in horse racing at all. And like I said, it's not because I was forced to. It's because it's what I want to do. Joel, my brother that Dale was alluding to, actually came down to work for me one winter in the fairgrounds when we were based there to see if he loved it. He found out very early, I love horse racing, but I don't have the passion that Norman has. And he decided from that trip that he was going to seek out something else. He always wanted to be a military type guy. He didn't want to leave home. Police force is the next thing. And I'm very, very proud of Joel because he's the youngest detective in Louisville history. And he's full-time SWAT. And we really think he's got that potential to maybe be chief of police one day. And, it shows you. Dale Romans is talking about how great of a guy he is. So I'm very proud of Joel and what he does. And, it's a very interesting dynamic, that's for sure. But Dale always brings him up.
Yeah, he did. He had him on speed dial.
He loves him. He loves him.
Gotta love Dale. Let's talk a little bit now about upcoming here at Saratoga. Also, you have a couple in at Del Mar on the weekend. But first up, let's go to a horse I've liked for quite a while now, coming up in the Lake Placid tomorrow, La Coronel. And I pulled up this race, for La Coronel, and that was interesting enough because it was just before the trip to Royal Ascot. We're going to watch the Edgewood, but I'll tell people also to keep an eye on Dream Dancing. They're going to run 1-2. La Colonel is going to be the 1A. Dream Dancing is the 1. Dream Dancing is going to be out in Del Mar tomorrow, so keep an eye on both of these. They'll finish 1-2 in here. But this was the race, as I say, 2 back for La Colonel. I've liked her. She went to Royal Ascot. You know, you ran 5th in an incredibly salty field. Winner and Roly Poly, a couple of good horses you finished behind in Royal Ascot. This was her last American race. What are you expecting tomorrow, again, off of that trip over to Royal Ascot?
Well, you know, they say preparation provides confidence. Her work's here, based at Saratoga on the Oklahoma training turf course, have been really well. All signs are pointing that she's going to run a big race. She's obviously a very talented horse. I think when you look back at her form, you see that she broke her maiden here, and it was a very impressive race. Sometimes when you come to a racetrack and you haven't run, even over the turf course, you have your reservations whether or not they're going to like it. We know she loves it. We've had a little bit of weather in the last few hours here. Maybe the turf's going to come up a little soft tomorrow, and she likes that as well. So I think I have to agree with you, though. I don't think people are giving her much credit for how well she ran in Royal Ascot. That was a very salty field. She had a wide trip throughout, and she only got beat 4 or 5 lengths for all of it. And truthfully, she ran a really remarkable race considering the circumstances. So I think I'm happy to have her back here on our soil, and I think she's going to run really well tomorrow.
Yeah, again, if you don't follow European racing, Winter and Roly Poly, they're very, very good horses over there. After your success over there, I know Wesley Ward made some trips early, and now he's a regular over there after your success last year. Royal Ascot kind of on the radar screen, and not necessarily every year, but is it something you kind of take a look at if you have a horse that's in that category?
It definitely, Tepin really changed her perspective on things. It was never even on our radar before Tepin. It was just, almost, I hate to say it, like an afterthought. Yeah. We went over there, and it was just kind of like a wow thing, like, wow, this is something that we need to experience again. The truth of the matter is, though, you have to be realistic. You have to take the right type of horses. Tepin did something that I think a lot of people have taken for granted. Like, she was a remarkable horse, and she had to do everything she could to just win over there. So you just can't take a second-tier turf horse over there and think you're going to run well. Hopefully, going forward, we'll send more horses over there. It's an experience that we like to do, and I think they appreciate it when we go over there. But it really is it's a sight to see for sure.
Got the top hat and tails, or you ran?
You ran them.
Let's move on to the. Go ahead.
No, you ran them.
Yeah. I was gonna. If you said you owned it, I was gonna. Yeah. Because there's like nowhere else you're going to be wearing that top hat. You get the one visit a year where that comes out of the closet. Let's take a look at the Alabama tomorrow, because again, another horse. We were down Florida Derby, and we talked to you and your team when we were down Florida Derby weekend. But on that Florida Derby weekend, Salty won the Gulfstream Park Oaks. We're going to take a look now at the Coaching Club American Oaks, her most recent race. Abel Tasman will win. Elate will run second. Number 7, Salty, runs third in here. Give us your thoughts on her tomorrow, coming out of this third place finish in the Coaching Club American Oaks, and roll in the fact that it's a 1.25 miles. That's going to be the big question mark for many in here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big question mark for Salty as well, but that's the way you got to look at it. It's like, a lot of people are questioning whether or not she wants to go 1.25 miles, and it's a simple answer is, well, who wants to go 1.25 miles in this race? That's what's the big equalizer, obviously. You show this race, but I think you take for granted she got away terribly. It's just unfortunate. We don't feel like she's had a good trip since really the Gulfstream Park Oaks. She had a terrible trip in the Kentucky Oaks. She had a compromised trip in the Acorn, and then obviously she got left at the gate here in the Coaching Club. We just want one fair shot at one of these things to figure out exactly what we do with her. Is she a true route horse, or is she a turn-back sprinter? You don't know, because she's never had a legit chance to win these things. So hopefully tomorrow sorts things out. She shouldn't have any excuses. She's worked really well. She's coming into it the way you want a horse to come into it. So hopefully we just get a fair chance and see what we really have.
And you mentioned the Acorn was a nice race behind Abel Tasman, a nice second-place finish. So if you
and
get back to that,
Abel Tasman had an absolute dream trip. We had a wide trip. And those little things, when you're running in a Grade 1 level and you ride horses that are very, very similar, trip is what makes a difference sometimes. And she just hasn't had a great trip. So we just want one fair shot, and then going forward, figure out what we do with her.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up out at Del Mar tomorrow as well, because you have a couple of horses in that have been working up here. So I'm assuming you are familiar with Monster B and Dream Dancing. Monster B goes in the Del Mar handicap. She's been out at Del Mar. He's been out at Del Mar before and has done well on the turf course. Comes out of the King Edward up at Woodbine. Not such a good performance, but prior to that, ran pretty well at Belmont. What are your expectations for Monster B?
I expect him to a big change in him. I don't exactly know what happened at Woodbine that day. He obviously didn't run any. Going into the Belmont race, I thought he was doing as good as ever. He actually won at Del Mar last summer, but for Peter Miller, the horse had just left our barn 2 days prior to that. The horse was doing well. You knew he was going to win. Obviously, he likes the surface over there, and his works leading up to the race, being based here, have been really well. So I expect him to run a much better race than he did at Woodbine.
Yeah, nice little field in there. Monster B amongst them, and then a little later on the card, the Del Mar Oaks, as the name indicates, 3-year-old fillies going on the turf at 1 1/8, and we just saw the replay of the Edgewood where she finished second behind La Coronel. That was 3 races back, a third in the Wonder again, 2 starts back, and then ran 7th in the Lake George up here last time. You ship out to Southern California. Julian Lepereau makes the trip out. What are your thoughts on Dream Dancing?
Dream Dancing, we've had a bit of a slow, disappointing meet, but most of the horses that have run have actually run well, and they haven't been like head scratchers. Dream Dancing's race opening day was a head scratcher. It was one of the ones that I've been really disappointed with. She had a really wide trip. Leading up to the race, she had worked better than anybody, and so naturally we were disappointed. Since then, she's come back. She's worked even better. Hence, she's running in a Grade 1 at Del Mar this weekend. Hopefully things turn around. Hopefully she runs the way that she's been working, because if she runs the way that she's been working, they're not going to be able to beat her. So hopefully we figured her out a little bit, and she can start getting a little bit more of the credit that she deserves. She's always been second fiddle to La Coronel, but in my opinion, they're about the same. So it's nice that we've separated the two, and hopefully we get the job done with both of them.
And I'm assuming that's the game plan. You could have run them both up here, but there's big money and a Grade 1 out in Southern California, so it makes sense to.
It's a much better game plan to separate the two, especially considering it's the same owner, same connection. Let them separate, because honestly, like I said, La Coronel is very, very good, but I hold Dream Dancing in very high regard as well. And like I don't know why she didn't run better here opening day, but she's sitting on a big one for sure.
And you alluded to it, so I'll ask you. It has been for you guys, and the way you play the game, it has to be a little bit of a disappointing meet. But I'm assuming you put a Grade 1 on the resume, that takes a little bit of the sting out, what you did last weekend.
I think it would be fair to say it's disappointing. It hasn't. It's been disappointing, but at the same time, the horses haven't been running bad. There's nothing more disheartening than when you run horses and they run terrible for no reason, and it's embarrassing. I haven't been embarrassed by the way that the horses have been running. They've been running, they've just been missing, or they've been getting beat by better horses. Dream Dancing ran a bad race. Snowfire ran a bad race. Those were things that were embarrassing to me personally, and those were the ones. But those have been few and far between. Yeah. The rest have actually ran well, and so what happens is you put your head down, you grind it out, and you know going forward, hey, we may have a bust-out Kingland meet, and we're going to be just fine. And that's the way that I feel. I feel like, yeah, it's been disappointing. Everybody knows it. But at the same time, a month from now, when we're gangbusters somewhere else, it's going to be just fine. So, disappointing, but at the same time, we know what we're doing. We're not upset in any way.
As a handicapper, I'm in the same boat. I tell people I'd rather finish first and third in the exact, or second and third, because I know the racing luck may change, rather than run 6th and 7th. Yeah. So you're in the same boat as a trainer as well. If they're running well, it's just a little racing luck changes, and it's all different. Always like to get some opinions on maiden specials. You got a couple coming up in the next couple of days, and I just wanted to get some thoughts on those. You have Discovered coming up, maiden special, the second race. Is that what's that today? Is that today, correct? The 19th.
I think that's
today.
Tomorrow,
yeah.
He's a horse, I'll be honest with you, I haven't been around him much. He's only been here one time. He had basically a routine half-mile work. He had ran once prior. We're going to stretch him out, run him on the grass, and see how that shakes out. But as far as leading up to the race, he had worked well, and that gives you confidence.
And Sunday, you have another maiden special coming up. Magical Sky comes off a couple of starts, a second in the debut down at Gulfstream, and then a third most recently here at the beginning of the meet. Both of those will kind of come from behind. Last time really came out of the clouds.
Yeah, I mean, this race looks like the perfect spot for her. It's a much longer race. I like the fact that she's had a race here now at Saratoga. She's a little bit of a flighty filly, a little nervous. She was overwhelmed being at Saratoga the first time she ran.
Is the crowd enough up here to get some horses going?
I think it is when you're based somewhere like Gulfstream Park, where maybe she ran like, I don't know exactly what day she ran, but maybe they didn't have a big crowd. We're talking.
Yeah,
we're talking a much different scenario when you run at Saratoga. There's a lot of action going on. I mean, Philly could see her. You know, people are walking through the stands with coolers and stuff. It's a just jarring experience, and I really feel like her mind was not on the race that day. Hence why she broke a step slow. Hence why she's far back going in the first turn. Run really spotty. She'll be much more professional this time. It's a better suited distance for her, and I think, you know, considering all that scenario, that she'll run much better race this time.
Again, that's Sunday with Magical Sky, and that's one of many horses. I printed up the entries, and it's like 3 pages of entries at various tracks up at Woodbine. You have some stakes entries and down at Gulfstream as well. And so, wish you a lot of luck, you and the whole team, you and your dad and the whole Casse team. I always like to also give trainers, when they come over here, a chance to kind of thank the owners and the staff as well, because they're part of the team. So you can give a shout out to your team.
Oh, I mean, obviously, none of this would happen if you didn't have the owners that provide the horses and the staff to take care of them. We feel like we have the best owners in the game. We're very grateful for that, very humbled for that. And then we have people that work for us that do a great job day in, day out, and we're just proud of everything.
Yeah, it's a 24/7, 365 a year kind of a thing, and so it's always important to recognize the folks behind the scenes a little bit too. Norm, appreciate the visit. Always enjoy the chat. We certainly wish you good luck this weekend here, across the country, up in Canada as well, and the remainder of the meet.
Thank you very much.
All right, Norm Casse. We'll take, we'll wind up the show because it's that time on the clock. Thanks to Norm Casse, thanks to Pat McKenna, thanks to Charlie Baker for this morning's show. Going to wrap up this Friday edition of Racing Across America. Remind you that nighttime racing continues until Labor Day. If there's Del Mar Racing, there will be nighttime racing on the network and CapitalOTBBet.com. Bounty Bet this afternoon. Jump in the late pick 4 at Woodbine, and you get a chance at the Bounty. The triple promotion tomorrow at the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, and Naira Pick 4 Sunday, also at the Clubhouse Racebook. More on promos and events at CapitalOTB.com. All right, I'm going to wrap things up for the Friday edition of Racing Across America. Enjoy the races this afternoon. Let's all cash a few tickets tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Mark Cassano, 9 o'clock. Handicappers Report. We'll see you then.
You've been watching Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America has been brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. Pennell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. And the new Capital OTB mobile app. Wager anytime, any place, anywhere. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off-Track Betting.